Yeah, continuing on with our ASUS X54, I think it was, or was it K54? K54L HDMI mainboard that would intermittently turn on and off. Now, we thought it was going to be a falling apart DC jack connector. It didn't fall apart. So, story of my life. But we've got a replacement one regardless, and we're going to be putting that in. So for all we know, maybe it was a bad soldering joint somewhere that we couldn't quite see. And let's get it replaced. Alright, looks clean enough. Should be good. Gonna most likely solder this from the other side and just rely on there being enough heat and solder to bring it through. Okay, I'm gonna roll this over. It hopefully should look good on the other side. That's not too bad for a flow-through job. So I guess now we will see how it goes. There's a little bit of pillowing going on here, but I'm not really going to bother touching it up. That on the other side is pretty good, so I'm going to leave that rather than trying to make it perfect and stuffing it up. So we'll do our test again, whereby we use the USB stick and a power plug. Yeah, I can't remember. Yeah, the ants are completely out of control today. The weather's extraordinarily hot. And I think the ants are preparing for a fair degree of rain. Or at least from their perspective. I gotta remember where the... Oh, that's right, it was the two middle pads up there. Okay, connector sits in alright. We've got a doorbell person. Alright, sorry about that. Inevitability of having people turn up. Okay, we just need to activate and see if it works. And more importantly, see if it doesn't shut down. Okay, we're up. Now before we would lose everything if we move this around, and we don't anymore. So I would say we are fixed. Awesome. Okay. Fingers crossed. I shouldn't really need fingers crossed. Looks like pushing that edge a bit more. Let's zoom out. I see we're a little bit too close. There we go. Power's good. Now this would drop dead in a couple of seconds, like that. You're shitting me. Alright, yes, we're going back into this laptop. Seems like we probably have some sort of BIOS corruption issue, and that's quite interesting because I've never really, I think maybe 2, maybe 3 times in my entire time for computers have had to do a BIOS reflash. I mean, I know it's very commonly suggested as a fix for things, but no, not for what I've been doing. I don't know, maybe it's just one of those luck things. It's like while the whole world was burning with the iPhone 6 Plus touch issue, I think I only saw one measurable touch thing. So yeah, it was really weird. Here we go again. We're gonna get this bloomin'. Where are you? There you go. Do the double motion removal. We've got to release the DVD, and then take the screws out. Yeah, what a pain. And then we'll classify them as top screws. Hopefully this time we'll remember. But in fairness, the only reason I forgot last time is because it was a fairly moderately extended period of time. It's like, probably 3 days. It's a bit unrealistic to expect me to remember everything after 3 days. I mean, really now. Great, I've put this panel on a little bit too well. Come on, up you come. So I've ordered myself a proper BIOS programmer. Or I shouldn't really say BIOS programmer, it's just an SPI programmer. But I wanted something I could work with tonight, so I'm going to try it with a Raspberry Pi. I was going to do it with an AVR, but to be honest, the Raspberry Pi would be much easier. And I've got one sitting around. Probably had it for a year or 2. And I've been wondering, what in the hell am I going to use this thing for? I mean, primarily it was purchased as a curiosity. You are the EC, I think. I am not 100% sure as to where the BIOS is on this one. Now, if I'm truly fortunate, I should be able to do this. If it was on the top side, that'd be kind of convenient, but I don't think I've been quite that lucky. Alright, we are back. It's 2 o'clock in the morning, and it has been one hell of a process to get to this point. I basically I took this main board out, and then I desoldered the BIOS, just hot aired it off. It's not on here, it's on the other side. I'm sorry, I know, but I'm not going to pull it out after all this drama. Now, I had to reflash the BIOS, or at least I took a thought that it was going to be that because of the nature of the blue screen that was coming up talking about preparing for a BIOS flash and things like that. I don't know why it was doing that though, because the client who owns this laptop, the last thing they would be doing is getting involved in BIOS flashing. I'm really not sure what's happened. It's not the first time I have encountered a machine after storms that has that strange BIOS issue on it. So I'm not sure what the go is there. Maybe it's extremely close to lightning strikes or something, but I don't know. It's very obscure. Anyway, it's I don't know what I'm dealing with here. This is just a... Oh, man. You got that? No, you do not. Do you get that? Well, maybe you do. Ooh, you line up there and there. And there. Yeah, I pretty much wrecked this thing. It was extremely difficult to get off. I'm a little upset about that. You don't need to be there. It's sort of a bit of a protection layer, but yeah, it's more like a pain in the butt layer when it comes to servicing it. Anyway, so I don't have a dedicated BIOS programmer here. It's just something I've never really encountered, as I was mentioning earlier. Other than that, one other time when I was able to do that through just a USB boot stick. Fortunately, the BIOS in the machine itself had a recovery system, so I was able to reload the flash without me intervening manually on the board itself. So I don't have a programmer. I did order one on eBay. I figured it's about time I did. But in the interim, I was getting desperate. And I realized I could probably do it through my Raspberry Pi, which I haven't used in like a year and a half. So, yeah, this is what I've done. I rigged it up. Wish I could get some more light in here. Let me change the exposure up on the camera. Push the microscope away. That's much better. So yeah, I've got this as a Raspberry Pi 2, and this arrangement of cables basically is giving you access to your SPI interface that the Raspberry Pi has. Yeah, that's just chip select and all that. And I happen to have one of these SOIC8 clips. These are not as useful as they would immediately seem to be. They are notoriously difficult to use. The springs are almost always too hard for the job. But nonetheless, it was all I had. So I wired that up in the right configuration, and then I took my BIOS chip, and I didn't have any SOIC8 adapter breakout boards. I've got so many other breakout boards, but for some reason I do not have SOIC8 ones. Probably because I had this, and in my mind I've just never bothered to order them. So I put it on to this. This is 0.5 pitch board. It's just simply pads with holes in them, and yeah, so I can drop the BIOS chip on there, and that gave me a bit of a stable sort of grounding. And I just tacked down two of the legs, put the clip on, went into up Raspberry Pi system, and ran a thing called Flash ROM. Fortunately, someone on the internet was kind enough to give me the right BIOS for this computer, and what do you know? It actually appears to have worked. It flashed, it verified. So let's just get this back together, and hopefully we can have happy days, because I really, really want this to get back together properly. It's a fair bit of money. So yeah, it was my Raspberry Pi finally came into a genuine use. I have used it before for some other programming things, like AVR programming, even though I do have my own dedicated AVR programmers. There was a couple of situations where I wanted to try it out. Okay, let's go battery. I almost ordered a new battery today after seeing that it was complaining about the flash thing and 20%. I'm glad I didn't. Okay, we've got charge. We've got a screen. I just heard... Was that a blue flash then? Sweet fuck, I just saw a blue flash then. What? Oh no, what the hell? Okay, so we're on day 3 here now of this ASUS X54H, and I've just put it all back together after testing it for several hours without it crashing or anything like that, or rewriting the BIOS. As soon as I put it back together, again it's back to the frustrating powers off. And this takes us back now to why it's important to test everything from the top down. Because let me demonstrate what we probably have as a problem. I should have checked this, one of the first things. The only thing is I was sort of thrown off by the fact that the jack was stuffed and that the BIOS was stuffed, and yet, look at that. That is some serious messed up stuff. No wonder the poor thing's been turning off and doing random stuff. So I'm not real sure what I'm going to be able to do about this. I'll clean it up, but yeah. Oh man. At the very best, I just simply hope to restore on-off functionality. Lid functionality may not come back. And that flex isn't exactly brilliant either. That's seriously messed up. Someone's obviously dropped a bunch of liquid into... Yeah. So, let's see what we can do. Hopefully, like I said, if we can get on-off functionality restored consistently, I'll be very happy. Now the question I suppose is, did this explicitly cause the BIOS issues? Or was that more of a secondary thing? We lost a complete pin in there. That's great. Amazingly, the switch is okay. I'm guessing the magnetic sensor probably be okay. Might have to just flux restore that. Maybe go over it with the iron or something. Wow, that is seriously messed up. I wonder what they dropped on there. Oh look, we've got another bug in the flippin' flux needle. All these are going to have to be cleaned up. They're on the verge of death actually, now that I can see them. This really is why diagnosing without opening up and looking, or even suggesting effects, can be so perilous. That's not even wanting to take. Come on. Might have to put this on a proper board holder. So yeah, I've been banging my head on this one for the last couple of days. I should have checked that switch first. But I guess what made the difference is that the DC jack was jacked. So I thought, alright, that makes sense. And we even confirmed it. We started rolling the jack around, and sure enough it was misplaced. We could see it was very well worn inside. I'm not sure if I should even be touching these, but I'll give it a go. Fortunately, at least most of the functionality isn't even on this board. That's a seriously janked up connection. I should have known better when I got this, and I thought, hey, it's just the jack. This will be a good chance for me to catch up on my profit losses. Yeah, it was just the wrong way. Man, no idea what it was that they put in this, but it was nasty. Times like this you get tempted to use acid flux just to really cut through this trash, wash it back, and then use normal flux. Okay. Man, what a pain this board's been. And of course, to be expected, the customer is chomping on the bit. Understandably, they need to get their work done. They don't know why the machine's not working. Yeah, I gotta really physically debride this. Look at that, it's not even, come on. Fairly sure I don't have any suitable buttons for this one. Okay, you look okay. Looks like the soldering's connected, but it's just, ah man, it's dropping down on me. It's just awful reluctant to take new solder. Damn, had a big strip of solder here. Still curious as to how that could have caused the BIOS issue. More to the point, even after I flashed the BIOS, it then failed again. So changed the entire chip. Oh man, come on, don't do this to me. Okay, you're looking better. Not a huge amount, but you are better. I'm really hoping on this switch, as per most switches, they have 2 pins doing the same thing. You watch will be, yeah, both these pins are better the same one. I think we might have to be happy with what we get in there. Definitely very happy I bought this squeezy model for the alcohol. It's a far more effective way of getting the alcohol onto the board. Okay, I'm just going to follow this trace. So we're going from here along, up, around. Great. Goes into a V. Brilliant. I'm going to guess it probably just goes. It's only a 2-layer board, so I think it probably goes there to there and then around, and yeah, that makes sense because that's pin 4. Fortunately here, the two pins that we really care about are actually still intact. And that is these two here. They're our on-off. The LED status light, things like that, we don't really have to care about. I could order in replacements, but really, to be honest, at this point, it's customers really wanting their computer back. So I think it's best if they do that for them. Just get it running. I can always order more parts and deal with that later. Yeah, what a mess. Okay. Yeah, we need to have a look at that flex. Yeah, that's badly chewed up. Who's hoping we have success with this? Man. Can't believe I didn't check that. Like I said, I mean, the fact that everything else was broken sort of said to me, oh, well, you know, you should be good now, Paul. Yeah, foolish fool. So we've got some copper leaching out there. So make sure they're separated. That looks a lot better. Certainly there's some pitting and stuff in there. I'm not game to go in and try and resolder those. You do that with these flexes and you more often than not just cause more drama. But they do look intact. Enough anyway. Alright. If we look at the whole area, I mean, look at that. Should give that a good flush out. Looks like I need some more paper napkins. So this is not going to be a complete fix. Like I said, the lid switch is potentially not going to work, and the LED is probably also not going to work if it had one. Actually, I don't think it does have one, because we didn't see it on there. Oh man, getting high on those fumes. Yeah, hopefully those fumes are cleared out. So here we go again. This has been quite the challenge in terms of frustrations. I suppose the ideal thing right now is to check that it actually does boot without turning off. Well, it looks like it's got straight in the bars and doesn't look like it's shutting down on us. So that's good. Let's get this thing together and hopefully we do not have to take it apart again. But at least we found a genuine smoking gun there. It's one of the big problems I was having with this whole thing before is that it was very vague as to what happened on the grounds of it just sort of said, well, it was fine, and then we had a storm, and then it wasn't fine. And the storm was potentially a bit of a red herring, or it was a case of just cumulative issues. It's surprising how many times you will get a machine in and everything just happened to happen at the same sort of time. Or it was limping along with one thing and then eventually everything was just too much and it finally gives up, so, which appears to be the case here. So we had a bad DC jack, we had a BIOS that was flaking out, and we definitely had a switch that was on the edge of death. Now, trying to think where I put that keyboard. I'm pretty sure this is it. Definitely earned my money on this one. So it's kind of sad because when it started I thought this would be a nice one to recover my hours shortage. But nope, this one just gobbled up the hours again. It wasn't super bad, but it was certainly more than I expected. And a little bit of a prayer maybe. No, I'm not into that. In hindsight, I can see oh my god, it's doing the flash thing. It actually did the flash thing. Why is it doing the flash there? Quit to exit. Keyboard's non-responsive. Is the keyboard also botched up? Bloody hell. Really? So maybe there was never anything wrong with the flash. It was just because of the keyboard. Yep, I think the keyboard's at fault. That's what's going on. So there's never anything wrong with the flash. Far out. So the key's obviously pressing something that's making the... Oh my god. I don't believe I have another one of these keyboards. I'll have to get one. Let's see. You watch, it's not going to go into flash. Yep, there we go. Keyboard's at fault. Fuck. Oh my goodness, what a frickin' drama. There must be... Yeah, new keyboard. Well, that's that. What a drama. So what's happened is we had liquid damage, which damaged the switch assemblies and all that. It leaked into the keyboard a bit. It caused it to press, by pure bad luck, the key that makes the flash BIOS come up. And also the DC jack was faulty, which added on to the whole glitching system. And well, everything's good though. Updates events. Okay. Now I can do some Windows updates. Unbelievable. Well, that's a story in a bit. Check for updates. Yeah. This Windows 7 needs a rebuild, but at this point the person's going to want their machine back, so we're going to have to call it at that. I'll put the keyboard back in, but it's detached, and then tell them they're going to have to use an external until I can get a new one. At least in the interim, they can get their data, get their work done. So there you have it. Confusing set of faults caused by other things, but on the upside, I learned I could flash my BIOSes using my Raspberry Pi, so that was something to learn. Alright, I'll leave it there. Until next time, you'll take care.